Hello and welcome to Our Waking Dream. I'm your host, Coco Swanson. I'm really glad you're here. I've been realizing as I make this show each week that it's a basic astrology lesson coupled with practical tools that can help you really anchor in the energy for change in your life that's moving through the astrology of the week or the season. And I've been realizing that I do best when I'm teaching and I can get like a hit on your comprehension if I'm either making eye contact or on the phone or in a small group. I'm less used to teaching in this context where I'm unable to know what is landing for you in the way I'm teaching, in the language that's being established for me in explaining astrology in particular. It's easier for me to explain the practices in a way that I know they'll land. So if you can, when something lands, if you're over on Apple Podcast, write it in the review so I can read it and integrate that way of explaining astrology more often. If you're on YouTube, in the comments, so I can again integrate ways that I'm describing that land into more of these shows. Thank you in advance for doing that. And just a little side on me if this is your first time here. I'm 3 decades and feels like forever soul's immersion in esoteric arts, in wisdom traditions, contemplative practices, energy healing. The last decade I've been immersed in astrology, so it's one of the later skills that I share because it's a fantastic map to point out what's going on in our world. It's like taking the weather report of the subconscious themes that are moving through the world right now. This said, if you're not interested in astrology, fast forward the first 8-10 minutes, because every week I'll be taking the weather report astrologically. But then I shift gears into the practices that if you want to just dive into the practices, just fast forward each week, halfway through the video, give or take. Okay. This said, the week of November 16th, I'm focusing on Uranus sextiling Neptune for its second time. They're both retrograde in the signs that they'll be leaving come 2026. Okay, so let's simplify this. If we think of signs, of planets and the sign they're in, if you think of that as a game of Clue, this is from way back when though, so depending on how old you are, I don't know if they still have the game of Clue, but if you think of a mystery where it's who did what, where. Astrology for me, if I think of who is the planet and what sign they're in and where is the house. The house, it's like if you are, we'll say I'm Uranus, so I'm a grand awakener. I awaken anything out of delusion to align it with the greatest universal truth. That's what I do as Uranus. Uranus, the grand awakener, is moving one more time into Taurus, awakening things around Taurus. Taurus is about resources. It's about the flow of resources or the stagnancy about resources. It's about our values, what we value, what are our core governing values. Well, Uranus was in Taurus for the last 7 years. So let's just take it for the last 5 years even. How have your values changed? And what feels awakened in your values? Because over the next 5 months, until Uranus changes signs into Gemini, for good, it will be in Gemini now for the next 7 years. Until then, it's a perfect time to look at what values are changing. So I'll talk more about that in the practices. because right now Uranus is in a gorgeous relationship. It's called a sextile, where it's a harmonious, easy relationship with Neptune. Neptune, if you think of the Who, is a dreamer. It's a spirituality. It's how we embody the metaphor of life, the planet of spirituality, dipping back in to the sign, its own sign of spirituality, Pisces. What that means is it's a time to clear out all old spiritual patterns, aka karma. It's a fantastic opportunity to clear out karmic patterns before next year when Saturn and Neptune conjunct and move into Aries, which signifies an amazing new era. At least for people like me and probably you, if you're listening, it's the spiritual revolution. So if I summarize this, Uranus in Taurus moving backwards, retrograde, sextiling Neptune in Pisces, final degrees of their signs, moving backwards, retrograde, then to me, it's a time that we look at how our values have changed in lightning bolt awakening ways in the last 7 years, and what to take this time to really relook at it one more time, like, and how, what karma is up, what repeating themes are up for you right now, what feels off kilter and delusional, because Pisces in its glory is about the dream, but the dream turns into delusion when our dreams are no longer true, meant to be in alignment with our higher selves. So that combination, in combination with this new moon on November 19th, 20th, depending on where you're at, that's a Scorpio new moon. And I love it because it's also in harmonious relationships with Neptune and Uranus. And so that's the 19th and 20th. So this week is fantastic for another round of ritual, of alchemy, alchemical breath and change. So we'll talk about that, because we're at we've got a lot of things, a lot of players moving in the zodiac right now in ways that allow for a deep reconfiguration at a soul's level, a systemic level, and your life, really. Okay, so that's the astrology lesson. I'm sure it will weave back in because it's hard for me to separate. However, let's talk about the practices. So first is one of observation, to contemplate, which means usually we have our device somewhere a little far away from us. At least it's not on with us looking at it. And we contemplate, how have your values changed? Like what are your values now? How have they changed in the last 7 years? How is your relation to home, to land? These are Taurus things. To resources changing. How? Okay, that's the first thing to contemplate and also bring into your journal to talk about. When we bring language to something and we either dialogue with ourselves or somebody else or with divinity or write it, it starts to bring that inquiry more to the forefront. And so how are your values at an embodied level authentically changing? And how are your values in service to others? Spiritual. So this is the most spiritual planet. Neptune is in the most spiritual sign, its own sign of Pisces. And it's a return to source. So in this time of reconfiguring values, how has your spirituality changed and your place of bringing your values into service? Is that, I mean, if we combine Uranus, when these planets station direct, we have a gorgeous opportunity for a full refresh in our authenticity, in resources, in how we are embodying our values and service at a spiritual and physical level. I mean, that's like I know I'm not meaning to make this sound fantastical. It's just there's a lot of planets going, like moving right now that are quite large. And so for me, I add this emphasis of yes, yes, because I'd rather emphasize what power we have than emphasize the power we do not have to change things. Because there's a lot of realms that it's hard to find our power within. And in the spiritual realms, it's not, we always are empowered through our presence and intention. So our presence, our intentions, our words to bring the arrow of inquiry in to you. Because our values and our prioritize create the compass, which creates a flow of energy. That's step 1 this week. Step 2 is the rituals. So, how are your values reflected in your hobbies? And how are they caring for you at a deep spiritual level? I have a whole list of practices as I have a strong Pisces influence in my chart. It's a whole nother story of Coco's chart. And that means that me feeding my spirituality is actually what enables me to be functional in the physical world. So I'm curious if, for instance, you implement hobbies, especially this week, we'll just say practices. I say hobbies because hobby implies that you're doing it more than once, often. It's integrated into your life. So what practices or rituals or hobbies or things that you can do that feed your soul? I like to take baths. And when I take the bath, when I do all sorts of rituals, my day-to-day life is quite particular because in the particularity, in these moments where I light a candle, I feel into my body. I listen in. I say, what do you need? Do you need music or not music? Do you need salt for the bath or no salt right now? Essential oil? Do you need a meditation playing in your bath in order to facilitate a space where you can drop out of analysis, which to me is synonymous with dropping into spirit? When we drop out of analysis, we are dropping into the more subliminal realms. And that to me is where divinity is. It's within us. So how can you tell if you're dropping into spiritual realm and if you're feeding your spirit? Is because we're in a body, and when our spirit feels good, oftentimes our body feels better. They said we're very traumatized species. And so sometimes if we're experiencing a lot of trauma, when we land in our bodies, we feel a lot of icky emotions. So that's sometimes when I have a list of friends or people that I can have to reach out to if I'm having what can be called a healing crisis, when I land and there's a rush of emotions through my body. But normally if we're not in a healing crisis, when we land in our bodies, it feels fantastic in a way and it's directive that says, oh yeah, candle, or oh no candle. The subtleties of how to set space up in order to create nurturing environments for your soul. That's the goal of practice number 2. So other practices, if you're not into baths like me, are really, this is a fun one. It's just cleaning. What? Cleaning. But as you clean, you literally are dropping out of analysis. That means every breath, focusing on your breath, the sensation of breathing, the sensation in your body. You might whistle while you work or hum while you work. In order, as you're doing this like mundane activity, we bring our awareness into it, our presence, and that alone makes it a spiritual practice. Which to me, I don't know, it's so cool when I can simplify things and know that, oh, if I drop analysis and come into a breath, and the sensation in my body. I'm dropping from the brain into spirit and have more ability to nurture my spirit coming more into my life, more into my body, more into my thoughts. Our third practice I suggest for the week of November 16th is practicing dreaming big. If we have a well-resourced body and we're taking care of our soul, we're here, we're more of us, more of my light is in my form. And from my experience in studying, my light is what the magic maker is. My light is what informs reality in a way that moves things. So after I feel nurtured, that's a time where I want to dream big. So this is it. If my superhero skills, which usually are entangled with my passions, if my passions could be of great service to you in the world, to me, to everything, everyone, what might I do? When I dream big, I don't dream in a how will I do it. I dream in a what if, and then I wave a magic wand. Reality changes a million times. It can look like this one or it doesn't need to at all. And in that moment, I imagine like I'm living present tense. I'm bringing my imagination on board because imagination creates reality. And our imagination's been hijacked. So we're reclaiming it when you're feeling resourced. That's an important part. When you feel like you have access to your spirit and form, meaning your thoughts aren't consuming you. You have a smile on your face. Then you dream big to plant some seeds. How can we be in our greatest passion? Like, how could my passion be of service in the world? And then I have childlike dreams. I invite my soul. This is a mantra. I invite my soul or my God spark or the universe that is me, whatever language that brings your eternal spark up. I invite my eternal spark to inform my dreams so I may align with my greatest purpose and potential here. And then you dream. You talk about your dreams with other people. Dream and redream. That's it for this week. I hope this is of great service to you. Again, please, in the review or in the comments, depending where you're at, if there's a way I explain things that landed, tell me. Thanks in advance for that. In the meantime, here is to all of us living in our values and in our spirit in a way that brings about service for humanity and all that is. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Mwah.
Thank you for being a part of our community here at Our Waking Dream. Please make sure to like, subscribe, and share. Fill my cup and let it overflow. Let it overflow with love.